Good evening. It all feels very familiar. COVID concerns and returning to stricter COVID rules. The new variant, Omicron, has been found in Camden and Wandsworth. Both have been linked to travel. In Brentwood today, where the variant was confirmed on the weekend, residents were being urged to get tested. New centres were opened by a KFC, church and school. More mask wearing is back from tomorrow onwards. We'll tell you where in a moment. But first, our political correspondent, Simon Harris, has the latest.
Worshippers at a church, staff and customers at a fast food restaurant, and children and teachers at a primary school. All were being advised today to get COVID tests. Larchwood Primary School is one of 3 places in the Essex town of Brentwood which have been linked to the Omicron variant after a local person was found to be infected.
We're asking all the children at school to have a test, and we're sending tests home with those children today, except for one class who we feel are at particularly high risk. We've asked them both to have tests but also to isolate for 10 days.
Trinity Church, not far from the school, issued a statement saying the infected person hadn't been in the congregation, but someone close to them had. The third site, identified by NHS Test and Trace, is a branch of KFC in Brentwood High Street, where the infected person collected a takeaway. The authorities want to trace everyone who came into contact with the infected person or their family. That includes anyone who was at KFC between 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock on the afternoon of Friday, November the 19th, 10 days ago. At the town's testing centre, some people were concerned, others more relaxed.
I've just been pinged today, that's why I came up here straight away. I've been near someone, but I'm not overly concerned now.
Not particularly concerned, no. It's a new variant, but it's not doesn't sound particularly dangerous.
We're concerned because we really want to go away for Christmas. Sarah's got a 13-year-old son. He hangs around with a lot of people that are likely to have gone to the KFC and such like.
He goes to the KFC regular with his friends, and then, as we found out on the telly today, that one of the cases was from 19th of November, so we just thought we'd best get a little check-up.
The Brentwood patient, officials haven't said if it's a man or a woman, is said to be well and recovering at home. A senior government scientist offered this message about the new variant.
Here I want to be clear that this is not all doom and gloom at this stage, and I do not want people to panic at this stage.
Tonight, 3 more cases of the Omicron variant were confirmed in the London borough of Camden, all from the same family. And another case has been identified in Wandsworth. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Good evening. Masks made a return to our tubes, trains, buses and shops today in reaction to that new Omicron variant of COVID. Although Transport for London had kept the mask policy in place throughout the pandemic, now they have the law behind them. And according to TfL, 80% of passengers did cover up today. But for those who don't, will police issue the £200 penalties, or will staff be caught in the middle? New data shows that 13 cases have now been found in England, with more than half of those here in London. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has the latest.
For more than 4 months, mask wearing on most mainline trains has been voluntary. Today it became compulsory for all passengers over the age of 11, apart from those with exemptions mainly on medical grounds. Busy commuter trains like these southwestern services into Waterloo are still less crowded than they were before the pandemic. Most passengers we spoke to were happy to obey the rules and cover up.
Given what we've gone through so far and seeing that we think it's having an impact and reducing the spread of the coronavirus, then yeah, I think it's the right thing to do.
It's probably a good thing because obviously we want to just stop it in this new variant as well. It's all a bit scary.
It's not demanding, you can put on the mask quite easily. I don't really get the kerfuffle or the fuss as to why it annoys a lot of people.
It's fine, it's got to be done, isn't it? We want to stop the spread of COVID.
For passengers on London's buses and tubes, the instruction to wear a mask never went away. It was known as a condition of carriage. However, disregarding the rule didn't amount to breaking the law. Today, that changed. Anyone who doesn't wear a face covering and who isn't exempt can now be fined £200. But the return of the mandatory mask rule again raises the question, how will it be enforced? Not by us, say tube workers, or at least that's the view of one of their unions.
At the end of the day, we can't enforce it, and we mustn't become the punch bag, because that's literally what's happened. People have been assaulted, spat at, slapped, insulted, just because people are having a bad day and don't want to be told they've got to wear a mask.
Transport for London has 500 enforcement officers. These were at Waterloo, but they can't be everywhere.
It's a big network. I mean, there are millions of passenger journeys a day, and our staff can only be, and including the B2P and the Met, can only be in so many places. So we do appeal to the public, please follow the conditions and respect each other.
Enforcement is not just a problem on public transport. VOLKAN runs a shop in Richmond and is worried some customers will refuse to wear a mask. Last year, he tried to intervene in a heated row between two customers about social distancing.
I try to keep them calm down and separate the fight, but at the end of the day, when they leave, they both blame me, and I haven't seen them since then. They stopped coming to the shop.
The Prime Minister was criticised recently after being photographed not wearing a mask in hospital. He didn't make that mistake again today on a visit to a doctor's surgery in Tottenham. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Well, Simon has joined us in the studio. Let's start with those Omicron cases that were found here. Do we know where?
Well, most of them are in London. The UK Health Security Agency has identified 6 London boroughs where there are cases of Omicron. That's 4 more than we knew about yesterday. They're Barnet, Camden, Haringey, Sutton, Wandsworth and Westminster. Of those we know more about, the 2 in Camden and Westminster, as well as the one we reported on yesterday in Brentwood, it's understood the patients, the infected people, are all at home. They're not in hospital. At the moment, the UK HSA hasn't established a link with people travelling to South Africa with all of them.
OK, how about the booster jabs? Because the Prime Minister, he did give more detail about that today, didn't he?
Yeah, yesterday government scientists gave the go-ahead for the gap between second jabs and boosters to be cut from 6 months to 3 months. And today the Prime Minister unveiled an ambitious timetable for the rollout of those boosters.
The target that we've set ourselves is to offer a booster to everyone eligible by the end of January. And as with the first jabs, we'll be working through people by age group, going down in 5-year bands, because it's vital that the older and the more clinically vulnerable get that added protection first.
Of course, here in London, Charlene, there's still a very large number of people who haven't had a first jab. By the way, the Prime Minister will get his booster on Thursday.
OK, thanks very much, Simon.
Not too much surprise today. The Conservatives held the safe seat of Old Bexley and Sidcup in a by-election. Louis French is the new MP, replacing James Brokenshire, who died of lung cancer in October. But the 34% turnout was the lowest at a by-election for the past few years, and there was a swing towards Labour. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
I hope it goes well for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Don't let us down.
So proud of you.
And I've got to get on to deliver now. That's the job.
I'm sure you will.
The country's newest MP was already a familiar face in this part of London. Louis French cut his political teeth as a local councillor. In the early hours of this morning, he inherited the safe Tory seat of Old Bexley and Sidcup.
I'm absolutely delighted with the victory last night. You know, we secured more than half of the votes here in Old Bexley and Sidcup, in which was a tough winter election. A by-election for any governing party is always difficult, and we're absolutely thrilled with the result here.
The Conservative Party candidate, 11,189.
The by-election was triggered by the death of the former Cabinet Minister James Brokenshire, who had a majority of almost 19,000 votes in 2019. Although there was little likelihood of this seat changing hands, the Conservative vote was well down. Labour came second, with the Reform Party in third place. The Greens and the Lib Dems lost their deposits. Turnout was also down on the last election. Did you vote in the by-election?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Didn't really find the candidates I wanted to vote for.
Did you vote in the by-election?
Didn't know.
Why not?
I had a bit of a busy day yesterday, that's my only excuse.
Did you vote in the by-election?
No.
Why not?
I forgot.
The two main parties will both take comfort from this result. Labour increased its share of the vote in a Tory stronghold. The Conservatives held on to the seat despite the uproar over sleaze and migrants crossing the Channel. The Prime Minister was one of the big guns wheeled out in support of the Tory candidate.
By-elections midterm are always challenging for an incumbent government, and you shouldn't expect governments to win a midterm. The fact that we got over 50% of the vote share is a good result for us. As for the Prime Minister, when I was in Bexley with the Prime Minister, he was absolutely mobbed by people, so I didn't see any loss of enthusiasm for the PM.
Listen, I want to congratulate the Labour candidate, Dan Francis. What a great campaign. He managed to get a more than 10% swing from the Tories to Labour. I think that shows that the public don't find Boris Johnson's jokes funny anymore.
Until today, Louis French worked as a financial analyst in the city. One of his first tasks as a newly elected MP was to resign from the old job. Simon Harris, ITV News, Sidcup.